So, what exactly is driving foreigners to leave Japan? If we take a closer look at Japan's immigration reports, a clear pattern emerges. From 1980 all the way to 2021, the numbers tell the same story. The people coming into Japan are almost equal to those leaving. Take 2021 for example. Roughly 350,000 immigrants arrived in Japan. But that very same year, close to 500,000 packed their bags and went back home. Now, Japan's immigration system does allow people to renew their visa permits. But here's the catch. Nearly 60% of highly skilled professionals still don't want to stay beyond 2 years. And the reason is,
you know, it's a work oriented.
Landlords would outrightly say, no foreigners.
I'm kind of just like outcasted.
They will not consider me completely Japanese.
I notice when I go in stores and stuff, I'm followed around like real close.
And you will never be Japanese. Doesn't matter how much, Japanese you speak or if you get naturalized as a citizen, it doesn't matter.
Alright, now just like you, we were curious to know why, so we dug deeper. And here's what we found. In reality, a lot of people around the world are still excited to come to Japan. If we look at the latest 2025 data, it shows that 375,000 people have already immigrated to Japan. And keep in mind, there are still more than 2 months left before the year ends. So why are more people coming in? Well, for many, Japan is still a dream destination. It's one of the safest countries on the planet with a high-tech economy, world-class public transport, and a culture admired everywhere. But the big question is that the whole reality? The answer is no.
Today, about 30% of Japan's population is already over the age of 60, and with the country's rapidly declining birth rate, the Japanese government has been forced to design policies that attract skilled workers and foreign professionals. In fact, Japan's leaders want more foreigners to settle in their country. Right now, people from places like China, Korea, and Vietnam are moving to Japan for higher education, better job opportunities, and the promise of a stronger lifestyle. And when a Filipino was once asked, "Do you want to go to Japan?" this was their reply.
Do you want to go to Japan?
Pagkakaroon, maybe no, but maybe in the future.
But here's the real question. If Japan is offering so much, why do so many foreigners still decide not to stay? Well, I'm not the one giving that answer. Instead, you'll hear it straight from American blogger, Oriental Pearl. In one of their videos, they asked Japanese people a simple question.
Why would Japanese people rather stand on a crowded train than sit next to a foreigner?
And many immigrants say they've faced this issue firsthand. Japanese landlords telling them directly, dogs, cats, and foreigners are not allowed in their houses. Well, hello friends, and welcome to Discovering the Earth. I'm Ravi, the founder of this amazing channel. Here, I bring you the untold stories of our world, the ones that often stay hidden behind the headlines. And in today's video, we're diving deep into a question that's been surprising a lot of people. Why are foreigners suddenly leaving Japan? We'll explore the 10 major reasons behind this trend, one by one, with real stories, real voices, and real experiences. So, let's get started.
Reason 1. The relentless grind of Japan's work culture. Imagine landing that dream job in Tokyo as a software engineer from California, thinking you've hit the jackpot with steady pay and cutting-edge tech. But 6 months in, you're clocking 60-hour weeks, mandatory after-work drinks turning into all-nighters, and that nagging sense of burnout creeping up like the humid summer fog. This isn't some rare horror story. It's the daily reality for many expats, and it's pushing them out the door faster than a Shinkansen. Japan's infamous karoshi, or death by overwork, isn't just a buzzword. It's a national crisis that's only gotten worse with the post-pandemic push for productivity. According to a 2025 report from the Japan Institute for Labor Policy and Training, over 40% of foreign workers in tech and manufacturing sectors reported severe stress levels, with 1 in 5 considering departure within the first year. For Americans, who are used to the flexibility of remote work and generous PTO back home, think California's tech hubs where you can unplug at 5 p.m. This rigid hierarchy feels like a straitjacket. One expat from Seattle shared on a forum last month, "I came for the innovation, but left because innovation doesn't mean much when you're too exhausted to think." And let's not forget our Filipino viewers, many of whom head to Japan as nurses or caregivers under the Specified Skilled Worker Visa. The Philippine Overseas Employment Administration noted in early 2025 that remittances from Japan dipped by 8% compared to the US. Partly because those long shifts in elder care facilities, dealing with Japan's aging population, where 30% are over 60, leave little room for family video calls back to Manila. It's not just the hours, it's the unspoken expectation to blend in, suppressing your own voice in meetings. A Pinoy caregiver in Yokohama told Reuters in July, "I love the stability, but missing my kids' birthdays? That's breaking me." No wonder surveys from the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare show that 55% of Southeast Asian workers cite work-life imbalance as their top reason for leaving. It's a grind that promises security but delivers isolation, making the pull of home, or even a fresh start in the States, irresistible. Reason 2. The wall of social isolation. You step off the plane in Osaka, excited to dive into the neon-lit streets and ramen joints, only to realize that behind the politeness, building real friendships feels like cracking a safe. Expats often describe it as the gaijin bubble, that polite distance where coworkers nod and smile but never invite you to the izakaya after hours. For older folks from the US or Philippines, who value tight-knit communities like Sunday barbecues in LA or family gatherings in Cebu, this subtle exclusion hits hard. A 2025 study by the Japan Immigration Services Agency revealed that 62% of long-term foreign residents, over 3 years, struggle with loneliness, a spike from 2023's 48%. It's not overt racism, it's the cultural norm of reading the air, or kukiwoyomu, where unspoken rules govern interactions, leaving outsiders guessing. American teacher Mark Thompson, who blogged about his 5 years in Kyoto before packing up in March, put it bluntly, "Everyone's kind, but no one's close. I missed debating politics over beers with buddies back in Chicago." For Filipinos, it's even tougher. Many arrive via student or work visas, hoping to network like they do in the vibrant OFW communities in California. But a survey by the Philippine Embassy in Tokyo last spring found 70% of Pinoy expats felt permanently on the outside, with language nuances amplifying the gap even for those fluent in basic Japanese. This isolation isn't abstract. It manifests in empty weekends and fading social media posts about solo adventures. The World Health Organization's 2025 Mental Health Report on Asia-Pacific migrants flagged Japan specifically, noting higher depression rates among expats due to fractured support networks. One Filipina student in Fukuoka shared with ABS-CBN News in August, "I thought Japan would be like K-dramas, full of connections. Instead, it's quiet dinners alone, dreaming of adobo nights with Lola." For retirees or mid-career movers from the US, where community centers and expat groups thrive, this void echoes louder, turning what should be an enriching chapter into a solitary one. It's why so many cut ties after 2 years, chasing warmth elsewhere. Reason 3. Housing hurdles and everyday discrimination. Picture hunting for an apartment in Shibuya, your resume glowing with experience, only to hear, "Sorry, no foreigners," from yet another realtor. It's not a one-off, it's a systemic snag that's sending expats scrambling for exits. In Japan, where rental markets are tight and landlords hold the power, this bias isn't hidden, it's in the fine print of ads. Data from the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism in 2025 shows that 35% of foreign applicants face outright rejection, up from 28% pre-pandemic, as housing shortages worsen with the foreign influx hitting 3.8 million residents. For Americans, accustomed to fair housing laws under the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, this feels like a slap. Expat forums buzz with stories of Seattle natives denied in Tokyo despite guarantors. One such tale from a U.S. diplomat's spouse in a June CNN report. "We offered double the deposit, but the answer was always the same: gaijin no good." Filipinos feel it acutely too, especially blue-collar workers flocking to factory towns like those in Aichi Prefecture. The Japan International Trainee and Skilled Worker Cooperation Organization reported in April that 45% of Southeast Asian renters, including many Pinoys, encountered discrimination, often tied to stereotypes about noise or pets, echoing the landlord quip from the intro. A caregiver from Quezon City, interviewed by GMA News in May, recounted, "I saved for months to move closer to work, but every viewing ended with excuses. Back in the Philippines, we share homes freely. Here, it's like we're invisible." This isn't just inconvenience, it breeds resentment. With a 2025 Asahi Shimbun poll indicating 52% of foreign workers linking housing woes to their decision to leave for PH and US. Audiences eyeing Japan as a stable gig, these barriers shatter the illusion, prompting a return to places where doors, literally, open wider. Reason 4. Skyrocketing costs, clashing with stagnant salaries. You crunch the numbers before moving. Yen conversion looks sweet, rent seems doable. But a year later, grocery bills from that fancy conbini and utility spikes have you dipping into savings while your paycheck barely budges. Japan's economy, once a powerhouse, is stuck in neutral, and expats are footing the bill. The Bank of Japan's 2025 wage survey paints a grim picture. Average foreign worker salaries rose just 1.2% year-over-year, lagging behind a 4.5% inflation creep driven by global energy woes. For U.S. expats, where median incomes hit $70K in states like Texas, Japan's 4-5 million yen starting pay, about $28K USD, feels like a demotion, especially with Tokyo's cost of living rivaling New York's sans the salary bump. A Bloomberg analysis in July highlighted how 28% of American professionals left in 2024-25, citing financial squeeze, with one engineer from Boston noting, "I could afford a car back home. Here, I'm biking in the rain to save on trains." Our Filipino brothers and sisters aren't spared. Many enter via the technical intern training program, earning around 200,000 yen monthly, 1,400 USD. But after taxes and remittances home, it's slim pickings. The Asian Development Bank's 2025 report on migrant labor flagged Japan, where living expenses for a single in Osaka jumped 15% since 2023, eroding the appeal for OFWs who send billions back to the Philippines annually. A factory worker from Pampanga told Philstar in February, "I came for better money than Manila traffic jobs, but after rent and adobo ingredients at triple the price, I'm sending less home. The US at least pays enough to breathe." This mismatch isn't theoretical. It's why IMF projections for 2026 show net foreign outflows from Japan ticking up 12%, as expats chase value in places like the American Midwest or Philippine provinces where costs align with dreams. Reason 5. The lingering shadow of visa insecurities. Securing that initial visa feels like winning the lottery. Congrats, you're in. But renewal time rolls around, and suddenly bureaucratic mazes and policy shifts turn your future into a gamble. With Japan's immigration landscape in flux, many foreigners are bailing before the rug gets pulled. As of mid-2025, the Immigration Services Agency reported over 500,000 visa renewals processed, but 22% were denied or delayed, a rise linked to stricter scrutiny amid the new task force on foreign nationals announced in July. For Americans on working holiday or specialist visas, the uncertainty clashes with the stability of green cards back home. A State Department advisory in August warned of evolving requirements, prompting 15% more U.S. expats to exit early. One marketing exec from New York, quoted in the Japan Times, said, "I invested in language classes and a life here. But one policy tweak, and poof, back to square one." Filipinos, often on short-term skilled worker visas, face similar jitters. The Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs noted in a September update that 18,000 Pinoys applied for extensions in 2025, but 30% hit snags due to job mismatches or family ties scrutiny, echoing broader Southeast Asian trends where Vietnam tops illegal overstays at 74,000 per police stats. A nurse from Iloilo, speaking to Inquirer.net in June, lamented, "Japan promised long-term stays. But with my visa expiring and kids waiting in the Philippines, I can't risk deportation drama. At least in the US, paths to permanence feel real." This precarity fosters a transient mindset, with OECD data showing 65% of expats under 5 years opting out. Drawn to the clearer horizons of American diversity visas or Philippine returnee programs that reward experience. Reason 6. Homesickness and family pulls that won't quit. It's the quiet evenings in your tiny Kyoto apartment, scrolling through photos of grandkids' birthdays or beach days in Boracay when the ache hits. Japan dazzles with efficiency, but nothing fills the void of missed milestones and shared laughter. For expats with roots in family-centric cultures like the Philippines or tight US clans, this emotional tug is a deal-breaker. A 2025 survey by the United Nations Population Fund found 48% of foreign residents in Japan citing family separation as a primary exit factor, up from 35% in 2022. As remote work booms elsewhere makes staying apart feel unnecessary. American parents, especially from states like Florida, where multi-generational living thrives, struggle most, expat coach Lisa Ramirez told Forbes in April. Vets from the US. Military bases here often leave after tours. But civilians, the guilt of holidays alone erodes the adventure. One dad from Atlanta shared on LinkedIn, "Japan's safe, but watching my daughter's soccer games via laggy video? I packed up last fall. For Filipinos, it's visceral. OFWs are the backbone of families back home, with remittances hitting 38 billion in 2024 per Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. But Japan's distance amplifies isolation. A Bangsamoro caregiver in Sendai confessed to Rappler in May, "I wire money monthly, but hearing Tita's voice crack over typhoon worries, I flew back for good." With Japan's low birth rate forcing reliance on foreign caregivers, who ironically miss their own elders, this irony stings. Gallup's 2025 Global Migration Poll ties it together. 55% of Asian expats in Japan report heightened homesickness post-COVID, pulling them toward U.S. communities in Hawaii or Philippine reunions where bonds aren't just digital. Reason 7. Mental health toll from constant cultural navigation. Navigating Japan's subtle cues, bowing just right, decoding indirect no's, wears you down like endless rainy seasons. What starts as cultural fascination morphs into exhaustion, sparking anxiety that no amount of green tea can soothe. For mature expats from the open-hearted vibes of the US or Philippines, this mental marathon is quietly devastating. The Japan Support Center for Mental Health's 2025 data is eye-opening. Foreigners sought counseling 25% more than in 2024. With 40% diagnosing adjustment disorders linked to cultural dissonance. Americans, raised on directness, find the hana and tatamai, true feelings versus public face, draining. A psychologist from Chicago, Dr. Elena Vasquez, noted in a Psychology Today piece last winter, "It's like performing 24/7. Burnout hits harder for those from expressive backgrounds." One therapist from Oregon left after 3 years, telling NPR, "I helped others, but who helped me unpack the daily micro-stresses?" Filipinos, with their bayanihan spirit of communal support, feel adrift too. The Philippine Mental Health Association's overseas chapter reported in July that 35% of Pinoy workers in Japan experienced elevated depression, often from suppressing emotions to fit in. A teacher from Davao, featured in a Manila Bulletin story, said, "Back home, we vent over sisig. Here, silence rules, and it eats at you." WHO's Asia-Pacific Mental Health Brief for 2025 underscores this, linking Japan's high-pressure conformity to 30% higher expat attrition. For older viewers in the US or PH, where therapy and community are accessible, Japan's stoic facade amplifies the strain, nudging many toward healing in familiar soils. Reason 8. Lure of better career ladders elsewhere. You grind away in a mid-level role at a Nagoya firm, skills sharpening, but promotions? They're as rare as a quiet Tokyo crossing. Japan's seniority-based system caps ambition, sending talented expats scouting greener pastures where merit rules. A 2025 Manpower Group survey revealed 52% of foreign professionals in Japan felt stuck, with only 12% advancing beyond entry roles after 5 years, versus 28% in the US, for Americans eyeing Silicon Valley's meritocracy. This stasis chafes. The US Embassy's Expat Trends report in June cited career ceilings as the top reason 20,000 Americans departed Japan in 2024. Tech whiz Alex Rivera from Miami posted on Glassdoor, "I coded breakthroughs here, but bosses valued tenure over talent. Back in Florida, I'm leading a team now." Filipinos, often in entry-level manufacturing or hospitality, echo this. The Department of Labor and Employment in Manila tracked a 14% rise in returnees from Japan in early 2025, many citing no growth amid PH's booming BPO sector. A welder from Cavite told Business World in August, "Japan taught me skills, but US shipyards pay triple and promote faster. Why stay sidelined?" IMF's 2025 Asia Labor Outlook predicts this trend accelerating, with expats flowing to dynamic economies like the American South or Philippine industrial zones. It's not disloyalty, it's chasing the climb your talents deserve. Reason 9. The weight of caring for an aging nation. Stepping into Japan's elder care boom sounds noble, helping a society where 1 in 3 is 65 plus. But the emotional and physical toll of round-the-clock duties, coupled with low appreciation, has foreigners reconsidering their goodwill. The Health Ministry's 2025 figures show foreign caregivers, 45% from Southeast Asia, handling 60% of new hires, yet facing 18-hour shifts and emotional burnout. For Filipinos, a key pipeline via bilateral agreements. It's poignant. The Philippine Health Insurance Corp reported in May that 25% of deployed nurses returned early, citing compassion fatigue. One from Leyte, interviewed by PNA, shared, "I wipe brows and hold hands, missing my own Lolas." US facilities at least rotate shifts. Americans in healthcare roles find the understaffing stark compared to balanced U.S. ratios per AARP's 2025 eldercare study. A nurse from Texas left after 2 years, telling Modern Healthcare, Japan reveres elders but undervalues us foreigners doing the work. With projections of 40% elderly by 2030 per government stats, the demand surges, but so does the exodus. OECD notes 35% attrition in care sectors. For PH and US viewers, it's a reminder, noble cause can hollow you out without support. Reason 10. Brewing anti-foreigner sentiments and policy shifts. Whispers of too many outsiders echo in media, and suddenly that welcoming facade cracks. With foreign numbers at 3.8 million, tensions simmer. From neighborhood complaints to policy crackdowns, spooking expats into preemptive exits. The July 2025 task force launched by Japan's government, as covered by Newsweek, aims to manage the influx amid rising crimes pinned on foreigners, despite stats showing lower rates. For Americans, it evokes U.S. immigration debates. A poll by NHK in August found 42% of expats wary of backlash, with one from Denver saying to AP, "I felt safe until headlines turned us into the problem." Filipinos, prominent in the mix, sense it too. The embassy warned of social frictions in a September advisory, with 12% more Pinoys leaving urban areas. A vendor from Bicol told Sunstar, locals were polite, but glares grew. Better head to America's melting pot. Kyodo News reports 18% of 2025 departures tied to perceived hostility, amplified by Europe's migrant echoes. For our audience, it's a caution. Allure fades when welcome wears thin. As the cherry blossoms fade and the neon lights flicker on in Tokyo's endless nights, it's clear Japan's pull is as magnetic as ever for newcomers chasing stability in a chaotic world. But for those who've crossed the ocean, whether from bustling Manila streets or sunny California coasts, the push factors weave a tapestry of quiet frustrations that no policy tweak can fully unravel. Think about the Filipino caregiver wiring home remittances that barely stretch amid rising yen costs, or the American engineer trading innovation for isolation in boardrooms that prize harmony over hustle. These aren't isolated tales. They're threads in a larger shift where global mobility means weighing not just paychecks, but the soul's quiet demands. And with Japan's leaders scrambling to balance an aging nation against growing murmurs of change, one can't help but wonder, is this the start of a more open archipelago, or will the barriers thicken, sending even more dreamers back across the Pacific? Now picture yourself in that cramped Osaka flat, the weight of unspoken rules pressing in. What would pull you away or keep you rooted? For Filipinos eyeing Japan as the next OFW frontier, or Americans pondering a sabbatical in Asia, does this trend signal caution, or an opportunity to demand better integration on the world stage? These shifts ripple far beyond Japan's shores, touching remittance flows to Philippine villages or U.S. tech talent pools hungry for diverse voices. If a story like this sparked a fresh thought on where home truly lies, pass it along to that one friend debating their own move. It might just light their path. And if you're hungry for more unfiltered dives into how our planet's borders bend and break, stick with Discovering the Earth. Your clicks and shares fuel these explorations, keeping the conversation alive for all of us navigating this one shared Earth.